Yeah, here we go. Good evening, good day, wherever you may be. I'm Jamie McNichols, your host for the Rocket Diaries. It used to be called Blood, Sweat and Metal, but we changed our name for certain reasons. And more importantly, this channel started back in 2014. And lo and behold, I was going through some of the great reports of the show since it started. We've got over 20,000 views of all the interviews that we've done since 2014. Our last episode with Dave Evans, who was the original lead singer of AC/DC, that is approaching 2,000 views, and it's only been up on the YouTube channel for 3 days. Also, I want to give a big shout out to Blabbermouth for posting that up. Yes, there has been some stupid comments that's been going on, but we don't listen to the comments. But thanks to Blabbermouth. And more importantly, a huge shout out once again to J Double Promotions over in Western Australia for lining up interviews, and especially this one. Ladies and gentlemen, I am speaking to my foreign correspondent over in Mexico, Melbourne, the one and only Tim Henwood from Palace of the King. He's also done some work with Rouge Traders, Super Jesus, and many other things. We're going to get in that. Tim, g'day, mate.
How are you, mate?
Good, mate. I thought I'd give you a bit of a rap because I know a lot about you. You're a Mac Kiss fan.
I'm a huge Kiss fan. I am.
A huge Kiss fan.
Now, before we talk about Kiss, it's Henwood, not Henman. Everyone calls me Henman because of that bloody tennis player.
Yeah. All right. I'll just go.
You know what though? I'd be better off being a tennis player at the moment because then I wouldn't be in lockdown. I wouldn't have been in lockdown, would I?
Yeah. Well, see, I want to call you Tim Wood. I don't want to put the hen in there because
you're not Tim Wood.
It should be Tim.
Okay, hold on. Just to rectify this whole situation, it's Tim. What's your last name?
Henwood.
Henwood. Okay. Henwood.
But I think Jamie's right. I think we should change it to Tim Wood because Tim Wood, it's more of a rock star name, don't you reckon?
Yeah. Well, see,
Tim Wood. Hell yeah.
Well, see, yeah. Tim doesn't look like a hen. He looks more like a rooster. That's
hey!
Anyway,
ain't got that big flu on his fucking head. Like, no.
But anyway, Tim.
And a little thing that wobbles behind it. No, he ain't got that.
But Tim, mate, I know you're a massive Kiss fan. Before you start talking about Kiss, I've got a huge surprise for you, mate.
What do you got? What do you got there, my man?
No, we are the biggest Kiss fans.
Are you? Awesome.
There you go.
Definitely love Kiss.
Ace Rowley.
There's Ace. I love it. What's that? What do you got there, mate?
I've got a giant Paul Stanley one over there beside me. I've got Gene Simmons in the lounge room. But more importantly, I've got an Eric Carr figurine in the lounge room too.
Oh, yeah, awesome. Is it to be the same as the Mego ones? Is it one of those ones or is it bigger?
No, this one was actually made from the Eric Carr website. Someone was
yeah, from his sister.
Oh, he's got something too. He's got something too. Oh yeah, Peter Criss. Hell yeah.
All right, I'll be back, guys. Just give me 5 seconds. I'll give you the Eric Carr.
Peter Criss.
Yeah, I'd love
man,
to see it.
I love that. I love Kiss. They're the greatest band. They're really the greatest band of all time as far as like production and
they put on a great
giving
show,
they really did a great performance, and
Absolutely.
they all dressed up and made this great performance. And,
unreal. Have you seen them? Have you seen them live at all, or just on YouTube and stuff?
I've not seen them live. I was never fortunate enough to do that. But
Nah.
they're one of my favorite bands since I
Yeah,
was
awesome.
14 years old. I love Kiss.
Yeah,
14
yeah,
years old.
yeah.
I'm 45. So
Yeah,
that tells you a
awesome.
little bit about how long I've been listening to them, playing their music and singing their music and like
Yeah, fantastic.
This is
me
Eric
and my
Carr.
me and my friends had an underground like garage band, and we played
Yep.
their music all the time. So
This is a, this is the Eric Carr statue. It's handmade. It's
That looks fantastic.
worth two
Oh,
hundred dollars,
wow.
and
Yeah.
it's in the elder costume.
Yeah, yeah. He looks cool in his elder costume.
Yes,
Fantastic. Well done.
uh, it's one of
really
the
a great piece.
But Tim, I want to ask you, man, when did you
Yeah, mate.
first Kiss? We are going to talk about your music career, but when was the first time you got into Kiss, man?
My cousin Kevin introduced me to Kiss when I was 10 years old, and I just was like, wow, this is unreal. And then I was already playing guitar at that point, so the more he introduced me to Kiss records and started teaching me Kiss songs, the more
Yeah.
excited I got. And then I haven't got it here, but I got a guitar that looks just like Ace Frehley's smoking guitar, and
Right.
so yeah.
So 95 will probably be the first Kiss concert you went to.
It was, yep.
Yeah, it was an awesome tour, mate. The first time.
It was great, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
But I was living over in Perth at the time, and that's where the first Kiss convention started too, in Perth.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Did you
you're
go to
talking
that?
about the first Kiss concert in Australia, right?
No. Kiss came to Australia in 1980. I was only 1 year old. My mum went to Kiss in 1980, but it took them 15 years after that to come back to Australia.
Yeah, it was funny because I think they thought that no one was going to come along, and then when they came back and everyone was there, they went, "Oh,
Yeah.
we weren't expecting this to be so big."
No. Well, it made it just to
That
say
was the no makeup tour.
Yeah, there was no makeup, but they were rumored to come out in '89, and they were going to play at Quarter Park Raceway, and
Yeah.
and that got cancelled. But there's been so many rumors that they were going to come out with Mark St. John when he was in the band for
Yeah, right.
Animal Life. That didn't happen. Hell, Paul Stanley said in 1980 that they were going to come back in 2 years' time. Yeah, it turned out to be 15, but we'll get that.
Yeah.
But you got it. You got to see it live. That's something I've never experienced. Although I've gotten to see a lot of other bands, I haven't gotten to experience Kiss live, and that is really like the pinnacle, if you will, of bands. Like, they have a great performance. They dress up. They are what they are. They're unmatched in their performance.
Yeah, they're so fantastic, man. You got to go. You
Oh, yeah.
got to go see them if you get a chance.
Yeah, I was at the Crystal 500 gig with Motley Crue, and I remember that night I won the meet and greet with them. Remember when the Kiss Ice Block came back out, and
Yeah.
I won the meet and greet for South Australia. But that night the lighting rig got caught on fire just after God of Thunder, and
Yeah.
they had to lower the lighting rig down and extinguish the flame, which took them 5 minutes, and Bob's your uncle, the show went on
Yep.
again. But nothing will beat that, man. Meeting Kiss in makeup, nothing will ever top that, because that's like
So it's the pinnacle of music. It really is the pinnacle of music.
Well, I had other meet and greets with other bands. Yeah, okay, Kiss is my favourite band, but meeting Angus Young here in Adelaide on the last tour, that's probably the top of the top.
Hey,
Wow,
no,
that's fantastic.
I met Mick Fleetwood and
Wow.
What's her name? Oh, uh, shut.
Christine
escapes me
McVie?
at the. No, it was Mick Fleetwood and Fleetwood Mac came and performed, and
Awesome.
I worked the show, so I was able to meet the stars of the show, and
Fantastic.
it was absolutely I had been listening to Fleetwood Mac since I was probably 10 years old. My mom was a Fleetwood Mac fan, and I'd listened to them since I was a little kid. So when I worked the show and I got to meet them backstage because we were moving their stuff in and out, I was load in, load out on their truck, and I got to meet them, and it was so fantastic. And Christy McVie wasn't there, but Mick Fleetwood was, and
Davey Nicks.
and Stevie Nicks, and yeah, it was a really like fantastic time of my life because I was young, I was in my 20s. It was a band that I really had grown to love very much, and so when I got to meet them, I don't have that starstruck thing when it comes to band members or whatever. Like I'm just a regular person, and they're regular people who are doing fantastic things, and and that's not to take away the credit from your band. Your band is awesome, and I listened to a bunch of your songs, and I think you guys bring a lot to the table in your music, and
Thanks, buddy.
and I'd like to know a little bit more about the song that you guys wrote about. You released it about 10 months ago, and it was "Take It As It Is" or
Tell It Like It Is.
"Tell It Like It Is." Tell it like it is, and hey, that's got a really fine message in it, and I'd like to like get your take on what you were thinking when you guys wrote that.
Yeah, well, it was kind of apt at the time, with what was going on with politics in America and everything. But it was kind of, there was a bit of an irony in it because I was kind of talking about how people get on their high horse and try to tell everyone that they're right and everyone else is wrong, or they start trying to push their agendas or their ideas or thoughts or political persuasions on other people, and and they're like, I'll tell you like it is, I'll tell you how things are, and it was a bit of, you shouldn't really do that, I don't think, but
No, I think you should tell it like it is. Yeah,
you should
I
definitely
absolutely
tell
think
it like
you
it
should.
is, yeah, but you shouldn't be telling other people that their opinions are wrong,
Yeah. Well, Tim, before we get into the music thing, something just came up about half an hour ago. I got a notification on Facebook that Australian news in general is going to be stopped on Facebook. I think now also some of the music stuff like Heavy Mag, they can't post anything up on Facebook anymore. I'm pretty sure the Rocker Diaries will not be able to share any information of as such. What do you think about that? Because Australia's been kind of censored now, like the rest of the world is.
Well, I thought they were negotiating with Facebook and Google to come up with a
They were,
with a deal.
yeah, they were, and Facebook just said no, bang.
Right, because
Is that because Australia doesn't give an F, and they're gonna tell the truth no matter what, and Facebook and YouTube and whatever can say whatever they want, but
Well,
we're out to tell the truth, and Australia particularly wants to get away from this dishonesty, and let people know the actual truth of what's going on, and they don't want people to know the truth.
well, see, more importantly, Damien, when it comes to the larrikin Australian behaviour, we, like Tim, tell it like it is, mate. Just tell it like it
Yeah.
is. And if you don't like it, lump it. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to do anything. But
You don't have to agree with it, but it's the truth.
and everyone has, well, whether it's the truth or not, that's one thing. But in all honesty,
Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech. I get it.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech. Correct?
but with all this stuff that's coming out like half an hour ago, I got a notification.
Yeah, right. I didn't see that.
A lot of people that I know in the music business here in Australia, they've all posted up on Facebook. There goes the news for Australia now. Can't post up anything. That means also the music news in Australia can't post it up. So that's what I want to ask. Down this track on the music side of things, Tim, and then we're getting into your music career. I have a love-hate relationship with the way that bands have been treated in Australia over so many years. Like if we go back to the mid 80s to 70s and 60s, the Australian music was flourishing. You had a lot of bands in the top 20, maybe the top 40, just pumping out great stuff, and they were getting the airplay, they were getting the exposure, the TV time, all that jazz. Nowadays, with bands like Airborne, you guys, for example, Palace of King, you guys should be megastars here in Australia. But unfortunately, you're more popular overseas than what you are here. And that leaves a bitter pill in my mouth that the Australian mainstream music radio stations are not paying their hard dues respect to Australian music. Yeah, the golden oldies stuff, yeah, they still pump that out every single day. But if you, sorry, I'm losing my voice. If you guys,
No worries.
if you guys release a new single, which you already have done, they're not going to play it. Independent radio stations will. And this is the same. This is the same thing what Dave Evans said last week on our show. That's why he moved. That's why he moved to Mexico, because the respect that he was getting here in Australia was like a double-edged sword. I just want your opinion on that.
Well, the internet changed a lot of things, and radio stations are only interested in advertising money, right?
Yeah,
right.
And so all they want to do is do whatever they can to make ad revenue. Whereas back in the 70s and the 80s to a lesser extent, it wasn't like if you go back to the 60s and the 50s, Australian acts were recording covers of hits by bands from America and England and releasing them because those songs didn't get released here. No one even knew no one knew they were covers.
Exactly.
And obviously, the smaller the world gets, with the internet connecting us all, the harder it is for people. You can't, like a radio station, are they going to play the new Palace of the King song, or are they going to play the new AC/DC song? Or you know what I mean? They're going to play the AC/DC song.
Of course.
It's just a safer bet.
Maybe.
No,
they might pick the new song from the person who's doing a boy band and it's just a pop song. Like I don't see any real like metal songs or rock songs going on the radio anymore. That just doesn't exist.
Well,
they're not playing them even here in the US. And it's horrible because we used to get really great music from all over the world. We'd get stuff from Australia or Britain or wherever, and it was great music. And now we have a bunch of crap songs by pop singers, and their songs suck.
Yeah, well, I think it's less about radio Radio
It's
is
really
less and
it's
less.
really about the revenue. You're right. It's about
It
the
is.
revenue that they create by ads.
But young people these days are discovering their new music on streaming services and on Spotify. You know what I mean? So if you want to listen to metal, I was talking to a kid yesterday who lives not far from here, and he's 15, and he was learning how to play Master of Puppets by Metallica. And so these kids, they're into this. They're into rock music, but they've got to go find it themselves on streaming services.
Well, see, that's my point. When Metallica started or AC/DC started, they had to start somewhere, right? And hell, AC/DC
We didn't even have the internet then, and it protruded through the masses.
Yeah, but hold on. Metallica wasn't played on the radio station when they first started out.
No, they just built it up through live performance. Same with Kiss, same with AC/DC.
Same with AC/DC, yep. Same as Iron Maiden.
Same as every great band ever.
Kiss, for example, it took a fan to march down to a radio station in America to demand them to play Kiss on the radio station.
Yeah,
look at people like System of a Down or Pearl Jam or any of those. Like they weren't allowed to be on the radio either, and those are fantastic bands. Tool. So I mean, you have so many great bands that were not allowed to be on the radio because of their message.
We get Tool played here when they first started on Triple J. They were the only station that played Tool. They don't play them now, of course, but yeah, Tool used to get played on Triple J when they first started out. But
well, we had them on like major metal stations, but no other station would play their music because it was too controversial, too out of the realm of possibility, too weird for mainstream. But it really carries a message, and that's Pearl Jam and Metallica and Tool and Perfect Circle and just so many different bands that had great messages that weren't allowed to portray those messages over mainstream media. It really had to be like this closed off radio station that only played this music, and in the rest of America or even the world, even in Australia, you didn't get that on mainstream media because they wouldn't allow it.
No, they're worried about the advertisers not wanting to advertise. That's why.
Yeah, that's the thing too. In the radio world, because I've been on radio. Yeah. It's all come from the executive directors. They tell you what to play and what not to play. You have no say.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you don't have the message that they want to portray, then you don't get airtime on that radio station because the people that are backing the radio station, paying the money to create ads and whatnot, they don't agree with the message, even when it's a great message.
Well, the main thing too is when a lot of hard rock bands and metal bands become like a commercial band, they get a lot of exposure. Metallica's one. They're a commercial band now. AC/DC, you can say they're a bit of a commercial band now. Guns N' Roses, commercial. Pearl Jam, commercial. But you see what I'm getting?
But did they sell out what they really were in real life to be able to make that money, or did they stay true to what they really were fighting against everything that is in that commercialism?
The world caught up with them. Like grunge music. Grunge music was just playing in little clubs and in garages, and then eventually there was this underground scene that became bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and the bands didn't change. But everyone caught up with them, and then they were like the culture, you know.
And now,
but did they sell out to commercialism, or did they stay true to themselves? Like,
Well,
that's
maybe
really
some
what it
did,
comes
but
down to.
well,
Well,
I don't think that Guns N' Roses or Metallica or Nirvana or Pearl Jam sold out. They just became huge because the mainstream culture caught up with them because they were
yeah.
ahead of the curve.
And now it's gone
Right.
full circle. Now it's gone full
Yeah.
circle again. And now it's gone back to underground status, so to speak.
Well, they're heritage acts, so it's underground status as far as mainstream media goes. But in
Yes.
terms of people going to concerts,
No.
those acts sell more tickets. Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, Metallica, they sell more tickets to concerts than anyone, way
Yeah,
more than
exactly.
hip hop artists.
Exactly. So, Tim, before we talk about Palace of King, how did you manage to work with the Rouge Traders, Super Jesus, just to name a few? And we're also going to talk about the new project like Android and the other one that I've got to mention as well. I will get that in a couple of seconds.
No
But
worries.
how did you get that? Were you part of Rouge Traders when Natalie Bassingthwaighte was still there, or did she leave at that
Yep.
time?
No. What happened was with the Rouge Traders, I was actually asked to audition as the singer before Nat.
Okay.
And then, and because I was friends of theirs,
Yep.
and we were sort of experimenting with some things, but it didn't work out for obvious reasons. Once you see Nat in there, she's so perfect for it. So Nat became the singer, and I became the guitarist, and Cam, my friend, became the drummer, and then he ended up marrying Nat, and on we went. And then eventually, I left to do the Androids, and then Nat left. And then we got back together with a new singer, but now we're back together. The original lineup of Nat and James and Cam and myself. Yeah, we're back together now.
I asked Joe Dubber last week, is Natalie back with the Rouge Traders now? Because when Nat left, it looked like the direction of music kind of changed in a little bit. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, it's always going to happen when you lose a creative force who's part of the band. Then you replace them with another one. Things change.
It is, and man, the first album that came out, it's got arias all over it.
Yeah.
You had what, maybe 2 or 3 number 1 hits in Australia at the time of the album, and
it was a big success.
Yeah. Well, that was like a lot of bands in the first album in that period, right? Or even before that, you had like Davis Garden, huge. You had Natalie Imbruglia, huge. First album, bang. How many ARIA awards did you make? And now you hardly hear from them. But that's the problem with Australian music when you have too many talent shows on TV and just pump and next minute they don't make it, they don't get it. It's like a manufacturing thing. You only get 7 years to make it. If you don't make it, out the window you go. But with the Super Jesus, how did that come about, man?
Well, I was in a band in Melbourne called Plasticine.
Yep.
Which later on evolved into the Android. So I was in that band, and I was friends with the tour manager of the Super Jesus.
Yep.
And Chris decided he wanted to leave the band. Chris, who was the original guitarist back over there in Adelaide, he decided he wanted to leave the band. And the tour manager, Nick, who was a friend of mine and was their tour manager, said, "Oh, you should go check out Tim and check out his band because he'd be good replacement for Chris." So they came and saw a gig of one of my gigs with Plasticine, and then they asked me to join the band, just like that.
So what's the difference working between Natalie and Sarah? What's the difference between the both of them?
Well, Nat's a bright, bubbly person who's a lot more into commercial culture, and and she's an actor as well.
Yeah.
And Sarah grew up much more wanting to be, Joan Jett or Susie Quattro, and So and playing guitar and wanting to be a rock and roller. So
Yeah.
Even though we had huge commercial success with the Super Jesus, that's very different kind of growing up and becoming an actor and a theatre performer and a pop singer is different from growing up in rock and roll bands in Adelaide and playing guitar and writing songs. It's so they're I just think Sarah's more of a rock and roll person and Nat's more of a pop person, but there's depth to both of them and they're both great.
And I know Sarah is a huge Kiss fan herself.
Yeah. Well, Sarah's Stewie Rudd, the bass player in the Super Jesus, and I are the massive Kiss fans, and Sarah and Paul were nowhere near as huge a Kiss fans as we were, but they definitely liked them.
Yeah, well, see, Super Jesus, I mean, I remember when they first started in the late 90s, man, and just going on around Australia. I was living in Perth at the time, and she had this reddish, like a tint in her hair, and I'm saying, man, that's a punk rocker right there, and she is a punk rocker.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's got the punk rock attitude, that's for sure.
Yeah, man. You also played a little bit with Chocolate Starfish, man, another old Australian band, I would say too. How did that come about, man?
Well, that was Zoran, who was the original guitarist in Chocolate Starfish. I'm a bit younger than those guys, so I knew them as I was growing up in the scene, and they were like the elder statesmen. And so I got to know them, and I lived in the same building as their manager and everything, and we were friends. And what happened was, sadly, Zoran Romic, the original guitarist and songwriter, and the guy who put the band together, he passed away, and he just as they were deciding they'd get back together, so he suggested that perhaps if they still wanted to keep doing it, that I would be a good option to play in the band, and I love the guys, and they put on such a great show, and got so many great songs, and it's a great opportunity to show off on the guitar. So it just came about. They got asked to do a Red Hot Summer tour, whenever that was. I can't remember how long ago it was now, but it was a great fun, great opportunity for me. I've actually just finished yesterday, just this morning, actually sent off. I've just produced a record for them, a new record for them.
Wait,
and I've just sent that off for mastering.
Chocolate Starfish has been around for a while, and they're still making music. I remember when Chocolate Starfish first came out, and that bald-headed mohawk that he had, or it's like it's kind of like a regurgitated mullet,
Yeah, well, it was he had it, and I don't know if you remember at that time, Bob Spencer was in the Angels, and he had the same thing, the little tails at the back.
Yeah, Bob Spencer when he first started. Hey, when Bob was in Skyhooks, he didn't have that stuff.
No, he had all his hair still.
Yeah, and then he went to the Skyhook and said, "Okay, now he's joined a bikie gang."
Yeah, well, one thing's for sure with Bob, the guitar playing was always top notch.
Yeah. A lot of people look up to Bob Spencer. He's now playing alongside Rouge Traders. He's been doing that for a while now, and he has. He's just one of the underrated guitar players in Australia, Bob Spencer, and I love to get him on the show because he played with so many bands in Australia.
Oh, yeah, and he's written so many great songs. We've done a lot of touring. Palace of the King have done a lot of touring with Rose Tattoo, and Bob's being able to stand there and watch Bob play every night. It's fantastic.
Well, Damien, Palace of the King started in 2012, and they're still going on now. I want to ask Tim before you ask about Palace of the King, Damien. Tim, do you miss the long road trips that you guys all took, especially when you went through Europe and over in America? Those long bus rides in the van from town to town. Do you miss that now?
I miss it very much. I
Yeah.
miss it very much, and I just miss playing shows and touring with Palace of the King. Just full stop. It's been the COVID, because of the way Palace of the King operates. It's a live band. We put a record out, and then we go on tour, and we do at least 100 shows every year. And for us, with the COVID lockdowns, it really hit. It really hit us hard, and it's been really hard to, it was basically been a year now where we haven't been able to play because of the COVID situation. We can't go to Europe. We probably won't be able to go to Europe until 2022, so, and we go there every year usually. Can't go to America for the same reason, and we've been to America a few times. It's really disappointing, but, this is what happens when you live in a global pandemic, and we'll look back on this in years to come and think, wow, we were living through that crazy time.
Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel at all?
Yeah, there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel, but I think we're going to have to get a lot of people around the world are going to have to get vaccinated so that vulnerable people are safer, and then they'll probably start opening up borders again. But at the moment, we're in a situation where you can't even just organise it. Like we had a lockdown here in Victoria last week.
Yeah.
You suddenly you don't know if your gig's going to be on. I had gigs blow out on me that weekend. I had a festival blow out on me in March because they were worried that they were going to not be able to run the festival. And so right at the moment, it's anytime you book anything, it's really it's an insecure time,
Yeah.
But, it's just everyone's in the same boat. We're all trying to deal with this crazy world we live in right now, and it's not a complaint. It just is what it is.
Well, say, Damien, Palace of the King, they travel through America. They played at the Rainbow. They played many places around the US, and it's just so damn hard just to tour alone due to all this craziness. And yet, he's Tim. He's missing the long road trips, man, because that was a camaraderie of the band members just chilling out in the back of the van, going to sleep in between town. But it's like what Dave Evans said last week, man. Maybe South America, Mexico, it's a place to go because he's got a couple of gigs coming up.
Oh, that's fantastic. I always remember Dave's post. He posted on Facebook a few years ago now, and it was a photo of the original lineup of AC/DC, and he was explaining how they used to go over in the back of a truck. There were no windows. It wasn't even a van. And they'd have a mask on, and they'd go across the Nullarbor all the way from, this side of Australia, all the way over to Western Australia, and no one complained, and it was freezing cold, and it was real commitment, and that was something that I really aspired to. Those boys that band didn't just succeed by accident.
No,
they worked hard and they sacrificed a lot. And you have to. That's what you have to do.
They worked hard for at least 2 years before they even got a record deal. At least.
Yeah.
With all these great things that you've been doing, let's talk about Android for a second, because that is a project that not many people have heard of. Explain about that, because it's something different. With everything that you've done musical-wise, it's a little bit different. Just explain about
that. Well, it evolved. The Androids evolved out of one of my first bands, which was called Plasticine, and then as I said to you, I joined the Super Jesus. They came and saw me play with Plasticine. Then after I left the Super Jesus, I went back to Plasticine, but we changed our name to the Androids. And we had a big hit around the world with the song called Do It With Madonna. And we toured around the world. We went and, played over on Top of the Pops in the UK, and we did all that stuff. It was fantastic, great experience. And then we made a couple of records, and then obviously I did the Rouge Traders. And then later on, obviously, Palace of the King and Chocolate Starfish and all this sort of stuff. And I was a session guy playing guitar for people like James Rain and that as well through all this time. So I've just been a musician this whole time, my whole life. And then recently, just with COVID happening, I got a phone call from a friend of mine who's a manager, and he said, "Oh, Brian Mannix is thinking about maybe doing something, a project." And I said, "Well, how about Brian gets together with the Androids and we make a record?" And that's what we did. So we made this. It hasn't come out yet, but we've got a record called "Hit Me," and we've started doing gigs now that the lockdowns opened up. And Brian's fantastic talent. He's a great singer, and talk about someone who's underrated. You know, he's actually he's a really, really talented singer. But because he's a funny guy and a joker, he and almost vaudevillian, you know, in his the way he entertains. He's people don't think of him that way, but he's a fantastic singer. Oh, trust me, I made an album with him, and he's really, really good.
Yeah. Do you also have a difference when you open up for Screaming Jets and the Angels? Do you see a difference between those two? You've got the same lead singer, Dave Gleason now. You see a different vibe when you play with the Screaming Jets compared to the Angels?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you wouldn't even, I mean, you know, it's obvious it's the same singer, but you wouldn't even, the energy is totally different. You know, the Jets is Dave's band, and he's a, you know, and speaking of how you said about Sarah before, you know, being a punk rocker, Dave's a punk rocker too, you know, and he's more wild and crazy with the Jets, and then with the Angels, he's tipping his hat to Doc. And he's very respectful, and he does a fantastic job in the Angels. He's also respectful of the Brewster brothers, and I think he does a fantastic job in both those bands. You just could not think of a better guy to front the Angels than Dave. He does an amazing job, and you never feel like, what's this guy doing this job for? To me, it just makes total sense, and he's very, very good at it. Yeah. And he's got that in him. He's got Oz rock in his heart. Yeah, so who better? You know, who better?
I'd love to have Dave Gleason on this show, man, because
you should. I'm sure he'd love to do it.
I've already sent a message out to him. I'm just waiting for a response, but
well, he's very busy, as you could imagine.
Send up some feelers, would you? Send up some.
I'm sure that he'd love to do it if he can find some time. He's obviously very busy in two big bands and on radio.
Yeah, they're a busy band this weekend. They've got a gig playing at the Adelaide Oval this weekend. There's a 3-day gig going on at Adelaide Oval with, I think, Chocolate Starfish is there. And
they are.
Yeah.
So and that's a Triple M thing, yeah.
Yeah. Thank goodness that the restrictions had loosened a bit for bands from interstate to come, and instead of going to quarantine, they were just given a pass to come in, play, and just go. It's like a bit like a hub, like they did with the AFL, fly in, fly out type of thing. Yeah, they've got a 3-day festival for Triple M, and man, if you're still playing for the, you know, Chocolate Starfish, and I'll come down and have a yarn and whatnot. Because
no, I won't be there with them.
You guys always come over here. You play at the Gub, which is one of the best venues in Adelaide.
It's great, isn't it? Yeah, it's a great venue.
It is, and I mean, I know you brought up here or you live here in Adelaide at one stage, but you're back in Melbourne, and you know it's just like when you guys play at the Epsy and you know like the old Hi-Fi bar, which is now Mac Watts, and all around the place. You guys done it, man. I mean, that's what I'm saying at the top of the show. Bands like you, I know you're humble, and I appreciate that. I'm humble too. But at the same token, you guys deserve more credit and what you deserve. And Dave Evans is right. Sometimes the mainstream radio does play a huge part in all of this. for not getting the exposure. And I know technology has changed with the internet and blah blah blah. I get that, but they're Australian radio stations for crying out loud. Shouldn't you be promoting Australian music like you've done in 20, 30, 40 years ago? But no.
Yeah.
You know?
I think they had. I think they also had regulations where they had to play a certain amount of Aussie music back then, and those regulations they became deregulated, so they didn't. They were under no obligation to, similar to how. I don't want to speak out of school because I don't really know, but my understanding is it's similar to how, how these days when you see a commercial on TV and the person will have an American accent, and it used to be that you used to have to make Australian ads to show them in Australia. So that created work for Australian content creators. That's been regulated, so they don't have to do that anymore. So, there used to be regulations where if an international band came out here, they had to have an Australian band on as a support band. That's not the case anymore. They don't have to do that anymore. So, it's a strange and evolving world we live in, and there's always crazy things going on, Jamie.
And so you have American people doing ads for you in Australia, and right? Like,
well, they'll just rather than remake. What they used to have to do was remake the ad in Australia with Australian actors and Australian production companies. These days, they just take the ad straight from America and show it on TV here.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. That's insane.
So, well, it just means less. It's less work for local creatives.
And
so you get Hamburger Helper ads from America, but you can't get Hamburger Helper.
Nah.
In Melbourne you can, not in South Australia. Melbourne you can.
No, you'll only get the ads for things.
Don't worry, I'm gonna send you some Hamburger Helper, and I will definitely send you beef stroganoff and your Cowboys hat.
Yeah,
fantastic.
I love Hamburger Helper too, Tim. I love it. But but Damien, what normally happens 9 times out of 10, unless if it's not a double headliner tour, let's say for instance Kiss comes to Australia, they usually pick up an Australian band. Like when they came to Australia in '95, they pick up Aussie band The Paul. Before
open, right? To open?
Yeah, to open up, yeah. So you get like an Australian band to warm the crowd up, and then out comes the headliner. Like when Kiss did the farewell tour, the Screaming Jets was the opening band for them on the tour. And the one after that, you had Grinspoon doing the opening act. So they always used to pick bands from America or England or ever. If they're not a double headliner, if it's not a double headliner gig, it's usually Australian opening band, then followed by the headliner. Like,
that's the way it should be. Like, because you're in Australia, that the opening band should be Australian because you're opening in Australia. So you have an Australian band, and then you have the headliner who may be from the UK or Europe or America or wherever, right?
Well, there's been some cases where you had Kiss and Motley Crue, but on that tour, the third band was Australian. But with Alex Cooper and Motley Crue, they were just them two.
That's two big headliners in Australia.
Then you had
Def Leppard.
Then you had Def Leppard and the Scorpions. No warm up.
I'd love to see the Scorpions in concert. That'd be awesome. But Def Leppard, maybe not so much.
I love Def Leppard.
I love Def Leppard, but on their albums, they're really not showmen. They're not like the Rolling Stones or Pink Floyd or those bands that actually like really produce a really great show. So they have some makeup on, big deal. Like, or maybe not. They got some long hair. Def Leppard's okay in my book. They had really good music, in the 80s, but they weren't really showmen. You know what I mean? They're really not like the Rolling Stones, where he's on the stage all night long. He's like, "Roar!" And you know what I mean? Or Kiss, who were great showmen that like they did things on stage that other people don't do. So, but
Yep.
Def Leppard isn't like that. They just sing their music and they play, and like they're not really all over the stage. They're not great showmen like that. You know what I mean? So to see them in concert isn't really a dream of mine. I like their music; it's okay, but I like those great showmen, like even what's his name, Marilyn Manson. I saw Marilyn Manson on stage, and it was a great show. Like he was a showman, and that's what I want to see when I look at
I
bands
can't,
on stage. I want to see them be great showmen.
I can't stand Marilyn Manson for some reason. I know he likes Kiss and he likes Alex Cooper and all that.
Look,
He's got all that.
he's got a PhD and shit, man. This guy is really fucking smart. That he is
I
super
don't think he's
smart.
smart. I don't think he's smart anymore. Do you see all the sexual allegations that's been coming out about him lately?
Hey, no, look, he's got a PhD. He's definitely smart, okay? And the whole point is that he's a great showman. He came out on stage on this giant pair of 10-foot stilts and had this spiked suit on. It was awesome. It was an awesome display of just rock. Okay? So I can't and it was a good show. It was a great show. Well, it wasn't even a good show. It was an awesome show.
I
And
remember when I first
he
saw
tore the
Marilyn.
books. He tore the pages out of the Bible and threw it all over the. And some people might not find that a really great thing, and some people may find it offensive. But to me, it was pretty awesome that he just ripped the pages of the Bible out and threw them all over the crowd. You know what I mean? Like that was showmanship. That's what it is, showmanship.
The first time I saw
And
Marilyn Manson,
even if he doesn't or does believe in the Bible, that doesn't matter. The fact is that he ripped the Bible apart and threw it into the crowd. That is showmanship, and it's all about that. It's not even about any belief system at all. It is what it is. It's just showmanship.
yeah,
It's
well,
just an
it's not
act.
my cup of tea, man. The very first time I saw Marilyn Manson was at the big day out in Perth. He only lasted 2 songs because my best mate beside me got drunk and threw the bottle of Jack Daniels, empty bottle of Jack Daniels at him, and he walked off
Oh,
stage.
well,
Mm.
wow. That's crazy.
And
I just found it.
and
I
I've
just
done,
found it very.
and, I,
I just
and,
found it very nice that he had such
and
showmanship.
And then many years later, say about 20 years later, I did security at Marilyn Manson concert, and he's an absolute arsehole. I've done security for him here in Adelaide at the Seventh Theatre. He's a complete
You know
arsehole.
who else? You know who else is a complete asshole? David Copperfield. I met that guy. He's a complete asshole.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Complete asshole. He just thinks that his butt doesn't stink at all. And
Is
But
that
anyway,
magic?
nice there. But that's true. David
Yeah.
Copperfield thinks that he is the greatest of all time. And I know there's other people that are like that, but I met that guy in real life, and he was just a complete butthole. So
I know Tim just picked up a rock. He's going to throw it at me. We said, Jamie,
No, not at all.
But man, this has
it's
been
not
an
a
absolute
church
awesome
rock,
place.
yeah.
This has been an absolute awesome talk, man. We talked a lot of stuff, and I know, yeah, things can get a bit off topic, but we've mainly stayed on the right path, man.
Not
But
at all, mate. That's fine.
I,
It's been
I
fun.
know you miss touring. I know you're doing some recording. I know all that stuff and that. So, because you live in Mexico, because you live in Melbourne, do you follow the
have to
AFL?
move to
Do you
Mexico.
follow the AFL then?
Melbourne.
I barrack for Essendon,
Ooh.
but only because I inherited that from my dad. So my dad, when I was growing up, he backed for Essendon, so I backed for Essendon.
All right.
But I don't really know. I don't really keep up with it, and I don't really know anything that's going on.
Yeah, you're too busy. You're too busy. That's right.
That's right.
But I'm a Collingwood supporter, so.
Oh, okay, yeah. My brother's a Collingwood supporter.
That's all right. But there's so much flavour here in Australian music. There really is, and you're just one of them. One of these people. I mean, you're still young, man. Unless you had a Botox injection, but man, you're still young. I mean, you're still young, and you know what I mean. This is what Australia needs. I mean, the younger kids that are, like you said, that 15-year-old playing guitar and learning, they're the ones that are going to find it harder now to make it a name for themselves because of this new normal, I'll say.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be so hard just to jam together now. And it's so hard just to interact together.
Yeah. Well, you would think that that'll all start easing up and getting more and more back to normal later this year, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. But you guys travel all around Australia. Just a couple of questions and we'll wrap it up.
No worries.
I want to hear some funny stories, whether it's from the Palace of the King, Rouge Traders, Super Jesus, all these other ones as well, chocolate stuff. You mentioned about Dave Evans, how they used to travel across the Nullarbor in the back of a truck, and that being being something like out of Mad Max going along the Great Nullarbor Plain. Any type of funny stories, or what we should call a Spinal Tap type of stories on the road? Because I know you guys love to travel in the back of a bus or a van or a truck, especially through Europe, especially through the US. Any weird or wacky stories you'd like to share? The floor is yours, and I will not interrupt.
You can interrupt as much as you want. I can't even remember any crazy stories because the whole thing's bloody crazy. You know, like we drive up to Sydney to play with Palace of the King, and we'll drive up there, do the gig, and then drive home and do another gig in Melbourne the next night, like without stopping. So it's just constant. And there's times where we're doing tours with Palace where there's a shortage of funds, let's say. We're not getting paid. We might be supporting a band and there's not a lot of money. So rather than pay for accommodation, you know, I've got photos where we camp on the side of the road and free camp spots in our tents.
Yes.
Just to save money, you know. And you kind of do it and you go, well, this makes a lot of sense. Why would you pay for a bloody crap motel room that you got to be out by 10 when you could camp in your tent for free? It's kind of...
That's right. Did you make a fire?
It's actually a lot of fun. Yeah, and it's actually a lot of fun.
So do you make a fire?
Yeah, totally. And sometimes we even...
Yeah, you got to make a fire. You got to keep warm, bro.
Yeah, especially in winter. There was one winter where we pulled over and set the tents up up near Canberra, so it's up high between New South Wales and between Sydney and Melbourne.
Yeah.
So it was up high and it was midwinter, so there was ice everywhere. It was freezing, and then when I woke up in the morning, the washers and my windscreen was covered in ice, and the windscreen washers, the water was frozen in there, you know, and we slept in tents. It was just like, you know, but it's not a complaint. It's great. It's great
Yeah.
fun, you know. It's great fun.
I remember traveling back from Melbourne back in 2011, 2012, just after the Christmas New Year period.
Yeah.
And I was on the back of a bus with a couple of mates of mine who was in the band, and they no longer exist anymore. They're only a little, I'll call them a little demo band, because they didn't really have an album. But they were over in Melbourne playing a gig. We had this bus. We hired out a bus, a mini bus, to come back from Melbourne to Adelaide. We get to Tintinara, which is just on this side.
Yeah, I know it.
Yep. Put up at the service station, and the minibus, when I saw it when we left, was white. We get to Tintinara, the whole side is yellow. We had a locust plague from
Oh my
Horston
God.
to Tintinara, and we're not talking about these little buggers. We're talking about these like size of an infant foot. These locusts everywhere.
Oh, gross.
Go around the front of the bus, all you saw was these wings flying off the windscreen wiper up on the sunroof, all these little crickets going off. Wow, it was 2011, 2012. Great place.
Was that a high event?
Spinal. It's a Spinal Tap moment.
Oh, mate, did you have to clean that off?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Did you have to clean that off?
Yeah. Oh, I can't remember what that band's called now. It's so long ago, because I've been so damn busy in the music business. I've been interviewing all these bands, and please check out the Rocket Diaries, Tim. There's so many interviews I've done from 2014 to now. But most importantly, people out there, please go and check Tim out. Check out Pale Dr. King and all his other work. What other website for the fans can go and check out? Any social media site they can go and check?
The best place is just search Palace of the King. If you go palaceofthekingmusic.com, you know, that's the website. There's heaps of great stuff out there. Get on Facebook, get on Instagram.
Yep. And
there's some great stuff on YouTube too. So go and listen to that.
Yeah.
It's fantastic music. It really is.
Thanks, mate.
And Damien, you should hook up with Tim and organise how you get album purchased to you, man. And you never know, he might chuck in a few good goodies there. He might even give you. I'm giving you the Vegemite. He might give you the Fosters, because you like drinking.
I like Bananas Fosters. I do. I like. Hey, I drink Fosters a lot, and Jamie knows it. Like that, we get the big oil cans here because that's the only thing we get is the big oil cans of Fosters. Right. So I drink that quite often. I like the lager, and yeah, it's good. It's all right.
That's classic.
I'll have to send him over Melbourne Bitter, I reckon.
That's right. Or VB.
But guys, please like and subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up, and also go and check out Tim. He's an awesome man. I grade him as the younger version of John Farnham, but he's got a voice like Robert Plant. But he's got a voice like Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin. But he's an awesome guy, man. Tim, say wishes. I want to give you a proper farewell. But guys, Damien, any last words you'd like to say?
We lost him.
I just want to say that that I love this band. They're great, and they have a lot of music that really correlates to now, and even in their past music, they've projected like this persona that you should not bow down to authoritarian rule, and it's just a great band, man.
Thanks, mate. Thank you very much.
All right, guys, you guys know what to do. Give it a like and share it and subscribe. We'll be back next time And next week I'll be talking after I come back from Port Lincoln, however, because I've got a trip next week to Port Lincoln for a couple of days
Nice.
for fishing with the family.
Beautiful.
But next week I'll be talking to a band from Europe called Epica. And they're so awesome. I had Epica on a couple of years ago. I had Simone. They've got a new album coming out next Friday called Amiga. We will be talking about the new album, and I'll be looking forward to that. So, Tim, stay with us. To everyone else, stay thirsty and keep safe. Thank you.